everyone. I'm Eric Walton, the president of Jeanne University, and it's my honor to welcome you to the nation's oldest HBCU in America, founded in 1837. So tonight you are part of history, because this university was bequeathed $10,000 back in 1837 by a Quaker neighbor, Roger Humphreys. And it's amazing what a small investment will do, which was a large investment at that time, considering the value of money, which was 10% of his estate. And as a result, over 30,000 people have walked through the portals of Jeanne University and graduated. So we're proud of that legacy that we have. And our vision is to become the premier educational model for excellence in academics, character, and social responsibility. And when we graduate a student here, we want to have all three components. So we're trying to establish a new model for education here at Jeanne, and that we are developing public-private partnerships with organizations that will locate on our campus to give our students experiences in arenas that they would not normally have, and walk out here prepared for the 21st century and beyond. So again, we welcome you here, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future. So thank you very much for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, so Mark Corbin is my name. I'm the manager of events and conferences here at Jeanne University. So as you can see, all of the seats have been marked for social distancing. There's not a bad seat in the house, so you don't have to worry about sitting behind anybody. What you should do, though, there should be a row separating you from the next person. So there should always be that much space between you. So I'm going to ask you, pointing to move to the next row. The other thing is that there are 6 feet, the whole 6 feet thing is 8. So whoever's in the box is 8 feet from the person that's not in the box. So only 2 people at a time, and one moves. Take the next box. The other thing, so no one gets offended, every time somebody comes up to the mic, I'll be wiping the mics down. It doesn't have anything to do with anything, but it keeps us all safe. And the restrooms are all on the left side of the building. Ladies and men's restrooms are there. There's nothing on there. On the other side of the classrooms, there's another restroom. There are 2 more restrooms out back across the lobby. And the only way you should be sitting together is if you came together. Okay? Everybody good? Any questions? Nope. Mike, you might check your mics. Just to make sure they're working. The mics on the stage, everybody has gloves. And that way, you don't have to be concerned about the mics. If you want wipes, we can give you wipes. I think that's it. Please enjoy yourself and govern yourself accordingly. Oh, last thing, this is politics. These are all open mics. So make sure you turn it off when you're not talking. Okay? That's for your safety.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good to see you. This is I believe our 4th meeting regarding the alternative concept plan presented by Toll back in January or February. It's been a long time. Our last meeting was in March, and we had one Zoom meeting in between. So, next slide. So we have a lot of people to thank. First let me start by thanking President Walton and his staff. As you walk around, you'll see they're practically following you and cleaning up where you touched. You're doing an excellent job, and we thank you for the use of their facilities. We have Westtown Township, who has helped to coordinate do all the logistical stuff behind the scenes to get us here. We have Will, in particular, Will Etheridge, who's our Director of Zoning and Planning, who has really done a great job with the coordination between the solicitors and Toll and the Planning Commission itself. Thank you personally for the dedication of the Planning Commission. We've been at this for many years now, and this is just the next piece of that effort. Thanks to Kristen Camp, who's on the Planning Commission solicitor, for her guidance and help getting through this. And then thanks to the West Town consultants, especially Al Federico, who does the traffic. Early on, we had many other consultants, engineering, land development, who's helped us get to this point. And finally, to you, the residents of West Town, and if you're not really from West Town, but from areas surrounding West Town, again, we thank all of you for your concern, your interest, your involvement in helping us reach a decision. Next. Okay, so tonight, Kristen's going to give a little brief explanation of how we got here, why is the meeting here versus the garage versus a Zoom meeting. We're going to have Miguel Gilman and Toll present the plan. And then there'll be a period after that where the public gets to ask questions and the Planning Commission gets to ask questions. And then we're going to have Al Federico from West Town Traffic go through, tell us his views. And again, we'll have the public will get an opportunity and the Planning Commission will get an opportunity. And then we need to make a motion to accept the recommendations. There'll be discussion. And again, the public will have an opportunity to ask questions. And finally, we're going to vote on that motion. I would like to tell you that we have all night to do this, but we don't. We have to be leaving the building around 8:30, so everyone is out by 9. So that means we need to keep rushing through, getting our questions answered, asked and questions answered in a timely, efficient manner. Okay, next. Okay, this is a quick introduction of the Planning Commission, which by now, hopefully, you all know. Your best buddies, myself, Wes Hatton, the chair, Jack Emmick, who's been doing a great job this last week while I was on vacation last year. Elaine, who's not with us today, she'll probably be on via Zoom. And then we have Jim Lee, Steve Rodia, Kevin Flynn, and it was now Tom Senate. As I said, West Town Planning Commission will, and the West Town solicitor, Chris. Okay, next slide. Okay, rules of the road. So we've worked a lot to be prepared for this meeting. We have lots of paper, we've had a lot of communication back and forth. Okay? We hope you're as prepared to ask good questions. Okay? But be constructive. Be respectful of what other people say. So not everybody is against having houses at Crebilly. But please try to keep your talk between you to a minimum. Having the separation does help with some of that. Please silence your cell phone. Please don't just shout out things. If you have something to say, please come to the mic. We're going to try to, in an effort to be efficient, limit repetitiveness. So if somebody comes up and asks a question which has already been asked and answered, I'm going to ask you to either ask another one or let somebody else ask a question. Excuse me. We'll ask the West Town residents go first. I don't know how many are not West Town residents, and so it may not make a difference to them. And finally, this is a process. This is a legal process. It's not just a meeting we felt like having because we wanted to communicate where we are. This is something we have to do. Okay, one more. It's not good enough.
So, I hate to interrupt, so keep your mask on, you're on the mic. So, this will be the social distance. So, just so we make sure that everybody stays safe, just make sure, if you got a cough, keep your mask on, please.
Thank you. So my name is Kristen Camp. I serve as solicitor for the Planning Commission. And again, just want to reiterate, we appreciate Jeanne University. As many of you know, it's not easy to find a format that everybody would be satisfied with. Zoom format is working for a lot of municipalities. When it's a larger crowd, it becomes difficult. Not everybody can see on a small screen. Not everybody has great internet capabilities. I know a lot of the Zoom meetings have been canceled due to weather. So we then felt it was important to try to have an in-person meeting once the governor allowed Chester County to go to green, which also then still has limitations. Hearing feedback on not being satisfied with the public works building, we were trying to avoid spending additional dollars to have, which is, West Town had to rent this facility, so we were trying to be fiscally responsible and have it at the public works garage. Heard, obviously with the heat tonight, that was probably not going to work. So I would just ask that you recognize that we're all in sort of an unprecedented time and holding public meetings, especially ones that we really don't know how many people could come, but potentially could be very large. There's just a lot of logistical issues that the Planning Commission and the staff had to work through. So again, we can't thank Jeanne University for enough for opening up and helping us keep everybody safe to where we are tonight. So. Where we are, the Planning Commission is an advisory body, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating. I don't know how many of you have been to the various meetings the Planning Commission has had, so I'm just going to start and try to give a brief overview of what the Planning Commission does do and what they don't do. They are only an advisory body. They're a very important advisory body, though, because they get into the very detailed, nitty-gritty aspects of land development, subdivisions, and in this case, a conditional use application. So Toll Brothers filed a conditional use application. This is the second application they have filed for the Robinson tract, known as Crebilly II. They filed it in August of 2019. And that, they're seeking two sections, 170-903A and C of the zoning ordinance to allow flexible development. 319 homes, 2 of the existing homes, and 317 new homes, a range of carriage home, townhomes, and single-family dwellings. A conditional use is a use that the Board of Supervisors in the zoning ordinance has determined is an appropriate use of property in the R1 and the AC district, provided that the applicant can meet the criteria under the ordinance. So Article 9 of the zoning ordinance identifies what the applicant's burden is to prove and to demonstrate that they can subdivide and develop the property with a flexible development and meet certain standards. There's also more subjective standards in section 2009 of the zoning ordinance. Again, that's the applicant's burden to demonstrate they can meet those criteria. If they can, then the Board of Supervisors by law is supposed to approve that development, unless objectors who come and are entered as parties in the hearing can present substantial evidence that this particular flexible development would create more negative impact than you would ordinarily see from a subdivision with 319 homes designed in this manner. So that's sort of the legal background. That hearing will take place before the Board of Supervisors. That is scheduled to take place on July 21st at Uptown Theater, which is right on High Street in the borough of Westchester at 6 p.m. They will also have social distancing, wearing masks, gloves, that kind of thing. All of those same procedures and precautions will be taken care of at Uptown Theater. If you are already recognized as a party, obviously you need to attend that hearing on July 21st. The Planning Commission from August through December worked through and ultimately gave a recommendation on the plan, the second plan I'll call it. And that recommendation was set forth in a letter December 13th, 2019. In response to that letter, Toll Brothers went back and said, hey, we hear what you're saying, Planning Commission, we'll try to work with you and we'll put together an alternate plan. So what they did in January, they filed a concept plan, they called it, and it was basically, again, flexible development, 319 homes. They tried to address some of the Planning Commission's recommendations. They shifted the development further to the east, they provided more trail network, they agreed that it would connect to public sewer, so they addressed some of the comments. The Planning Commission then started the review of what we call the alternate plan in February. We had, I think, 2 meetings, maybe 3, and then COVID hit. So the Planning Commission has been working on reviewing the alternate plan. There have been subsequent supplemental plans, again, submitted by the applicant in response to comments from either the township consultants or the Planning Commission at their meetings, or even from the neighbors and the issues the neighbors have raised. So right now where the Planning Commission is they'd like to get, and we've been working through a draft letter. Really, it's based off of the December 13th letter, which was their original recommendation on the second plan. And we've been tweaking that letter to basically give the Planning Commission's position on whether or not they think these alternate plans or intersection improvement plans, trail plans, etc., are something that the Planning Commission wants to support. The Planning Commission will then make a final motion on what they want their recommendation to be, and that recommendation is just that. It's not legally binding on anybody. It's something that they will present to the Board of Supervisors at the public hearing. The Board of Supervisors will do with it as they please. They will potentially, the Planning Commission hopes, take it seriously and consider it and potentially either deny the plan based on if that's what the Planning Commission's recommendation is, or approve it subject to conditions. But again, that is a decision that is done after the conditional use hearings and is done by the Board of Supervisors, not the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission would like to be able to get to its final recommendation tonight, and we're hoping that that can be achieved. At this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Greg Edelman, representing the applicant, and he can tell us what other supplemental plans he has submitted, since I guess the last meeting was held Zoom May 20th.
Good evening, I'm Greg Edelman here on behalf of Toll Brothers. Christina Ross, thank you very much for the introduction. Following up on what Kristen said, we've put up on the screen the alternate plan that Kristen was referring to. And just to rehash where we were, this alternate plan pushes the development eastward by 500 or 600 feet, depending on where you're looking, such that the open space area along the western portion of the property is approximately 76 acres based upon the yellow line. And where it was originally was the red line further to the west. In addition, we've highlighted, as Kristen discussed, additional walking trails, pedestrian connections, all in blue, throughout the property, which links all the sides of the property with the exception of the southwestern corner of the property. And that's where there's a stream corridor that prevents, a stream corridor that prevents any direct connection down to the 926 South New Street intersection. Overall, the plan has changed a little bit since we were last in front of the Planning Commission. There had been a prior comment about some right-angled intersections that we've gone back and softened such that, yeah,
I think it's your pointer, so.
that's impressive. That's it. Yeah, last time, Kristen, when you had your mic on, I turned mine on quickly. It's off. I don't know. I think it might be just location. Is there not? Oh, is that mic on? Yeah. So I'll just try to do the best I can and progress through. So overall, the plan shows those areas as being now curves. It did force some units to go a little bit further west, but not much. And overall, I think it addressed one of Al's prior comments about internal circulation. The overall property, as Kristen stated, is on this alternate plan to be served by public sewer. So that eliminates the on-site wastewater treatment plant as well as on-site wastewater disposal areas that were previously located primarily in the northwest corner and the southeastern corner of the property. Overall, there are other changes. I don't think I need to highlight them all. They're showing how this is laid out. There's a change in the total mix of single families to townhomes versus what's pending. But this alternate plan has been coming through the Planning Commission since January. The green shaded area, just so everyone is aware, is a future equestrian area where horse riding would be permitted throughout the site. There have been some requests about that as well. The major topic that we were last discussing at the Planning Commission was dealing with off-site and on-site traffic improvements, in particular the PennDOT related improvements. The intersections at 926 and South New Street, the intersection at 202 and 926, I just turned it off. Can everyone hear me?
No.
Yes. Is that better? Yes. All right. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, we were focusing on the off-site and on-site traffic improvements, in particular the intersection of 926 and South New Street in the southwest corner, 926 and 202 in the southeast corner, 202 and West Pleasant Grove Road in the northeastern corner, the intersections along West Pleasant Grove Road, including the intersection with the proposed collector road, as well as the two site accesses. And there really wasn't any discussion on the West Pleasant Grove Road New Street intersection, as there's no improvements proposed in that location in the northwestern corner. I guess, Jeff, if you could go to the 926 South New Street and use the aerial. So we have been discussing with the township, PennDOT, and other affected municipalities and property owners, including Thornbury Township, and in this case, the Spackman Trust, with respect to what would be required for PennDOT improvements. And we had prepared and submitted proposed improvement plans at the intersection of 926 and South New Street. And Nicole Klein, our traffic engineer, can walk you through it, but just to give an overview. We prepared those plans. PennDOT has reviewed and accepted them. We've also done the same with respect to, and I didn't have it on the plan here, an off-site intersection at 202 Skiles Boulevard and Stetson School Road. Those plans were prepared because it needs additional right-of-way in order for those road improvements to be constructed. And by right-of-way, I mean additional land from private property owners in order to do road widening to add turning lanes. So those plans were done, reviewed by PennDOT, and tacitly approved. The township also was copied on everything, so they are aware of what was being proposed. Toll Brothers went ahead and then prepared appraisals to attempt to acquire the areas of land that are required for the necessary road improvements. And this is what PennDOT requires you to do as a property owner. You must make a good faith attempt to try to acquire the additional right-of-way. in order to make those improvements. So Toll Brothers went ahead and did those appraisals and then submitted offers to the private property owners to purchase the rights of way that are needed. And those offers were 10% above the appraisal amount, and that's what PennDOT requires in their standards. We received a response back from the Spackman Trust as well as from Thornbury Township stating that they were not agreeable in terms of providing the additional right-of-way for various reasons, primarily impacts to an existing house that's close to the roadway. And Nicole will highlight all of this in a second in more detail. I'm just trying to give a broad overview. With respect to the additional right-of-way that's needed up by the Skiles Boulevard Route 202 intersection, we're waiting to hear back from the property owner, who we've determined is the homeowners association of the condominium complex that was constructed there right around the junction. So we don't anticipate an issue there, but we haven't heard back from them as well. Should the rights of way be acquired, Toll Brothers is willing and prepared to make the necessary improvements as well as purchase the property. However, as a private entity, Toll does not have the ability to force a property owner to give up their land. That can only be done by a public entity, whether it's the township or PennDOT. And to date, it's our understanding none of them are willing to do that. So to the extent that Toll can't acquire the ground, then those road improvements can't be constructed. And then PennDOT has to determine what to do next, if anything. So I just wanted to give the overview. That's where we are in the process. And I guess, Nicole, if you could walk everyone through the updated plans, and maybe you should use, I'm not sure, try
You got your wipes in there?
Mark should work on, let's see.
We're okay.
Okay.
This one and see if we have any feedback. Sounds good so far.
So Nicole, if you can just walk everyone through the different intersections and the updated plans so they're aware of what's been prepared and submitted.
Sure. So what is currently being shown on the screen is the intersection of 926 and New Street. It is a two-sheet plan, so we can switch back and forth. But generally speaking, the plan is depicting the addition of dedicated left turn lanes along 926 in both the eastbound and westbound directions. So here you can see the westbound approach. And in addition, on the westbound approach, the plan depicts a dedicated right turn lane along 926 for traffic to turn onto northbound New Street. That right turn lane can be accommodated and achieved either within the right-of-way or property that Toll Brothers controls, and so they aren't reliant upon the acquisition of right-of-way from others. The left turn lanes are a different story. As Greg summarized, the left turn lanes require us to widen the roadway along the south side of 926, and that means impacts to a couple of properties, both of which are owned by the Spackman Trust, or the Spackman family. So here on the southeast quadrant, the widening would require permanent right-of-way as well as temporary construction easements along that property and the 926 frontage. Jeff, if you can switch back to the other page, this will simply take us to the other side of the intersection so that we can see the eastbound dedicated left turn lane. And again, the widening is along the south side of 926 and requires permanent right-of-way and temporary construction easements from the Spackman property on this side of the intersection. So you can see, the lengths of the turn lanes are as demonstrated in the traffic study and per PennDOT criteria. And as Greg mentioned, we not only, discussed these concept plans with PennDOT, but also with Al Federico, the Planning Commission's traffic engineer. And we did make some revisions to address some comments that they had. So the geometry in a conceptual format has been accepted as it's demonstrated here. And Greg already explained the process that we went through in terms of coordinating with the property owners. So at this point, as I mentioned, there are other properties involved that are necessary in order to implement these improvements, and the property owner is not, property owners, I should say, are not providing that right-of-way to the applicant.
Nicole, let me just jump in. Did you also analyze whether the road improvements could be shifted to the north side of the roadway?
So we did discuss that with both PennDOT's engineer, consultant engineer, as well as Al Federico. Our concern there is that although there is a little bit of existing right-of-way on the north side of 926, because of the embankment and the large tree in front along the property that Andrew has highlighted on the northwest quadrant of the intersection, as soon as we widen the roadway at all on that side, it will cause significant impacts to that property and to the home that already sits very close to the roadway. And so PennDOT agreed at this point it made much more sense to pursue the property on the south side, given the most likely, the challenges we really can't overcome on the north side without having significant structural impacts on historic property. And I would also note that, as demonstrated in our traffic study prepared on behalf of the applicant, the dedicated left turn lanes along 926 are warranted based on existing conditions. They are not warranted by the development.
Okay, and has PennDOT reviewed all of the information, based on the warrants?
They have, and there are no outstanding comments from PennDOT on those aspects.
What else is proposed to be done by way of improvements at the intersection here?
So what is proposed, as I mentioned, in part is the dedicated right turn lane westbound, which can be done along the applicant's frontage. And also PennDOT commented they are requiring interconnection of the traffic signals along 926 at New Street and the proposed Collector Road intersection, which is incorporated and proposed.
Okay, and by interconnection, you're talking about signal retiming. If you could just tell everybody what you mean by that.
Sure, so it's a little more than signal retiming. It means that those two traffic signals must be physically connected via fiber so that they talk to one another, so that they aren't operating independently, they're operating as a group in order to maximize efficiency. So it's more than just signal timing.
I don't know what the Planning Commission's preference is. We can go through each one of the intersections and then have questions at the end, or we can go through one intersection and then have questions just on that intersection. I'm not sure which way you'd want to handle that. Sure. Absolutely, no problem. So if we could then go to the Skiles Boulevard, Stetson School, Route 202. You can just enlarge that, Jeff. All right, Nicole, please tell the Planning Commission and the public what's being shown here.
Sure, so this aerial concept plan shows the intersection of 202 and Skiles Boulevard, Stetson School Drive. At this intersection, with the Orvis Way connection that has already been constructed by another development, which connects Stetson School with West Pleasant Grove Road. And then on top of that, what is being required in terms of the collector road through the applicant's project by the township will further provide connection between West Pleasant Grove Road and 926. There are traffic diversions that will occur as a result of that. So more traffic is anticipated to utilize this signalized intersection of 202 and Skiles Boulevard as another means to access 202. So with that, there is additional traffic at this intersection. The development adds a little traffic. The diverted traffic is the majority of the new traffic at this intersection. As a result, some additional capacity is needed on the side streets. So what is proposed and demonstrated in this plan is coming out of the Stetson School approach, Currently, you have a single left turn lane, a dedicated through lane, and a dedicated right turn lane. In order to accommodate that additional traffic that wishes to travel north on 202, we are modifying that approach to provide 2 dedicated left turn lanes and a shared through right lane. That requires some modifications on the Skiles Boulevard approach in order to line up the lanes appropriately. And some widening in order to provide a dedicated right turn lane. So what you end up with on the Skiles Boulevard approach is a dedicated left, a dedicated through, and a dedicated right turn lane. And our analysis shows that will maintain functionality at this intersection and accommodate that additional traffic. So where the right-of-way is needed, as Greg mentioned, is on the Skiles Boulevard side, on the northeast quadrant of the intersection, and that property is owned by the homeowners or the condo association, and we are awaiting their response to the same type of information that we talked about down at 926 New Street in regards to the necessary right-of-way and the appraisal information. So in addition to the physical geometry changes, there are also some signal modifications that will be required at this intersection in order to accommodate the changes in the lanes.
And then, again, has PennDOT reviewed those signal modifications?
Yes, we've gone through the same process here with discussions with PennDOT's engineers as well as Al Federico on behalf of the township. Again, made some revisions and these were accepted.
Jeff, if we could go back to the overall site plan, a couple of the other intersections we discussed, while we don't have slides for, if you could just bring the Planning Commission and the public up to date. The intersection of 202 and 926, after meeting with PennDOT, based upon what's being proposed here, what did PennDOT conclude?
So first of all, our traffic study demonstrates with the collector road and the anticipated diversion of traffic and the way that the site traffic will be accommodated, that there is not a traffic impact at the intersection of 202 and 926 as a result of the site. But there are improvements planned at the intersection by PennDOT, including additional capacity on the eastbound 926 approach and